Hello, the 31st here, how's it going? So, I was looking at the Galarian Star Tournament, and you can get a team constructed of Bea and Mustard, and there's something very interesting. Just by looking at them, you can tell that they have very similar styles, as their stances are very, very similar. They are both right-handed, as you can see from their Dynamax band and their glove, however they are both fighting out the southpaw stance, usually something that a left-handed fighter would do. And they're both in that sort of Kung Fu, Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of stance. Now you could say it's Game Freak being lazy and reusing animations, however there are definite differences between the two styles and animations, which would indicate this isn't the case. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's intentional world building, and it shows the evolution from one style to the other. As you see, I do believe they have the same overall fighting style. It does seem pretty clear that gym leaders train their gym trainers in order to replace them, as we saw from Opal and what we've heard about Melanie. And Bea says something very interesting during the tournament, that Mustard was once the fighting type gym leader. Now this would have had to be over 50 years ago, as that's when he became champion. What this means is that Mustard would have trained the gym leader that replaced him, and then they in turn would have trained the next gym leader. And you could trace this down all the way to Bea. And this is why Bea and Mustard have such similar styles. But the generations between them is what's led to the evolution and the differences between their stances and animations. So, what are the differences between their styles? Like I said, they are very, very similar. They're both right-handed fighters fighting out of southpaw, but if you look at their rear hand, there is a difference in the way that they position them. Bea keeps her rear hand at a 90-degree angle parallel to the ground, whereas Mustard keeps his hand much higher by his face. Mustard also sits much deeper into his stance, almost like a horse riding stance, a more traditional sort of martial arts stance. Whereas Bea stands much taller with her knees only slightly bent in a more functional, modern stance that would allow for more effective footwork and movement. Bea is shifting her weight and sort of bouncing back and forth in a constant rhythm, whereas Mustard tends to bounce higher and rock his hips back and forward in a broken rhythm. And then, quite obviously, they have very different animations at the end. Overall, Mustard's style is far more traditional. It's very old school, whereas Bea's is far more modern and sport-like. And I think the way that they are even dressed mimics this as well, with Mustard being in a far more traditional Kung Fu outfit, whereas Bea is just in modern sporting equipment and Under Armour. It is very common in traditional martial arts for people to have lineages, kind of like a pedigree of their masters and their masters' going back to many famous people in martial arts history. For example, American action star Steve McQueen was trained by Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was trained by Yip Man, who was trained by Chan Hua Shun, who was in turn trained by Grandmaster Liang Jiang. And this can be traced back very, very far, as you can imagine. Or anything to do with the Gracie family is another great example. And as you go back, it's very clear how the style changes, and that things evolve over time. And I am actually wondering if there was a Pokemon Bruce Lee in Gala at some point, because during the tournament, Bea actually quotes Bruce Lee, so it's very possible that one existed, and that maybe he is the originator of their Kung Fu style. We know through Mustard that there are Chinese origins to their style, and Bruce Lee's style, Jeet Kune Do, is famous for its intercepting ways, which typically have right-handed fighters fighting out of southpaw, because then their most dominant leg and hand are forward and can go out much quicker. So I really wouldn't be surprised if their style was based on him, and that at some point in the past, there was a Bruce Lee Gala fighting type gym leader. Anyway, let me know what you thought about the video. I'd say it's pretty clear that Bea and Mustard share a lineage, and that the similarities in their style are a result of the fact that Mustard would have trained Bea's masters. It'd be interesting if there's any other sort of things like this in the game, but it is just a great show of world building that again often goes overlooked in Sword and Shield, which has had tons of it put in. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have anything else you want me to do a video on. Goodbye.